Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we got fighters who build and enter flow states in their fights, inspired by Carlos Prates' performance this weekend versus Jack Della Maddalena. Dominated from start to finish, built very early, entered his flow state, and just beat on him, wore on him, and that knockout was inevitable. I saw it coming since the first round. You cannot let Carlos Prates get into that. And these fighters are, in general, guys who may start out a little slow, lose the first round or two, depending on if it's a 15-minute fight, a 25-minute fight, but once they read their opponent, find the counters, figure out what their opponent can and can't do, if they could hurt them or not, they become pretty unstoppable. They take over the fight and they have really strong finishes to the end of rounds, to the end of fights, and they may probably get a finish. And first up, I want to start with Carlos Prates since he inspired this video. I think he's the best example of a rhythm-based fighter, and it's pretty easy to spot with him. He gets in his flow. You could really see it once he starts landing his knees and his elbows. That's when he's found his range, especially those knees, those devastating knees to the midsection or the head, as he saw with JDM. He also has his hands down. He usually fights with his hands on a lot, but once he really enters his flow, his hands are low even more, bouncing around, smiling, talking shit. Really showed it this weekend versus JDM. Like I said, a very fucking cool fighter. Just the way he fights. Just what I said before. It's knockouts, big power, very fun style, just non-stop action in his fights. A very entertaining fighter. The best examples of this are his last three, I think, where he's evolved after his loss to Ian Gary. I think the Jeff Neal fight was really good. Guy similar to JDM, boxer, likes to get in, combo up, but started finding his knees, followed by the left hand, his elbows, big shots around the high guard of Jeff Neal. Found an elbow, and then got the spinning elbow at the buzzer against Leon Edwards. Getting put in bad spots with the grappling, getting taken down, didn't really do that much to deter him from entering his flow. He started talking shit at the end of the round, the first round, to Leon Edwards. Even though he lost that round, it didn't deter him. I think the main thing for disrupting Carlos Prates is like a really good amount of kicks. You can't be like a kickboxer who likes a point fight. That's playing into his game. And then he eventually found the knockout once Leon Edwards switched stances, and it was so brutal. Gave him whiplash for sure. And then JDM this weekend, early on, was finding the knees, the shots around the guard, elbows, big power shots, and just really dominated start to finish for 12, 13 minutes, whatever the fight lasted. Nice performance from him. I think as an evolved fighter, he's going to really be able to enter this against anyone. I think the only man who's going to stop him is Islam Makhachev. Maybe Ian Gary in a rematch, but I think Prates wins that, honestly. The next thing I want to talk about, fighting soon at the White House, Ilia Topuria. He's a bit of a slow starter himself. Finds his timing, finds his shots, especially when it's a guy who's trying to, bounce around, dance around at range. Not like a Charles who's going to come in, try to knock him out, try to grapple. But guys like Volk and Max who are going to stay on the outside, use their kicks, use their length more, their distance management, and try to avoid the power. It's kind of a little bit like Prates. You can kind of see when he starts reading his opponent and picking his shots, picking his counters. And he's a bit of an unstoppable builder as well. It's kind of similar to Prates in that regard, where it's very hard to stop him once he enters this rhythm and this flow. The best examples of this are Volk and Max, his first two title wins, both at featherweight. The Volk fight, Volk had success early on, low kicks, jab. He was really jabbing him up well. Ilia wasn't able to get in range, but you see once round two starts, Ilia's even talking. He's like, my time's coming, my time's coming. Starts landing big counters, cutting off the cage a little well, timing Volk's kicks, and then eventually backs him up to the cage, the corner of the cage, lands a nice four-punch combo, followed right, big shot right in the chin, drops him, puts him out cold. And the Max Holloway fight, I think this is the best example of this. Holloway was having more success than Volk, in my opinion, making Ilia whiff, landing his big shots of his own, good kicks, oblique kicks, whatever it may be. I thought the fight was a little bit closer. I know he lost 2 rounds, I think, on 2 of the 3 judges' scorecards, but I thought it was a bit closer than that. It was still a very close fight, but I feel like there's a midpoint in this fight, the midpoint of the second round. You see Ilia, again, like Volk's fight, countering the kicks, timing them very well, and he kind of starts to take over a little bit, where Max is now missing, Ilia is now landing big, and there's that clip going to the third round where Ilia's brother Alexandre is like, start the attack, Ilia, start the attack, don't let him rest. And I think it was on a stand switch, finds a big right hand, and that's the beginning of the end. First time someone knocked out Max Holloway. And now a newbie to this game, the UFC at least that is Yusri Balguri. He only has 2 UFC fights, but against 2 pretty hyped up prospects. Maybe they didn't fight the best competition, but they're pretty hyped up, good, well-rounded guys. They had similar styles, like explosive wrestlers with decent power. He doesn't have a crazy amount of power, but he really wears on his opponents with high output, and he kind of increases that as the fight goes on, because his opponent, they get, like I said, worn on, and they can't really throw as much. They're getting a little tired, and users are just picking it up. And as that fight progresses, he even finds more accuracy in his shots. He's timing if they try to come in a little bit, times it on the chin, and they become more damaging as you're tired, as you're beat up, as you're slower. Your chin's a little up in the air. You're breathing through your mouth. Those shots become more and more damaging. Obviously, the best example of this, like I said, is 2 UFC fights against Bakoev. I actually picked against him in this fight. I didn't expect him to come out, have that level of takedown defense, and, get up ability when he does get taken down. But nasty jab and low kicks from the start. Distance management was very well, but he gets even better as this fight progresses. And then once his second fight came around, Mansour Abdulmalik, similar guy to Azamat Bakoev, I was like, he's going to just whoop his ass. He's going to knock him out. I had a third round knockout for him, knocked him out in the third round, but it was brutal and just really dominated him. And he builds pretty quickly as well. And I'm excited to see him against higher level competition. Very new to this game, but trains with Glover Teixeira. I almost said Talison Teixeira and Alex Pereira, 2 great guys to be around at a higher weight class as well. Next up, we have the champ fighting this weekend, defending his paper belt. Pantoja is still the champ, everyone. But Josh Van, he starts off very hard. He's kind of like Usry, where he improves his output, starts reading his opponent very well. Not a lot of power either, but it wears on his opponents. That allows him to get later TKOs. He doesn't really get like early TKOs. I think this gives him an advantage against guys like a Tyra and a Pantoja. Guys who Tyra doesn't have the greatest cardio or the greatest output. He's not like really a builder, but early on, he's going to be grappling, trying to wrestle Van, sub him, and if Van could wear and start reading, and he's stuffing shots, surviving the grappling sequences. I think this is really going to benefit him. I think if it gets to around 4 and 5, I think Van is going to really wear on him and maybe get a TKO. And against Pantoja, it's not that similar because Pantoja is a guy who really puts on a clinic with the cardio and the output, his own, when it comes to the striking and the takedowns. But I still feel it's going to be Josh Van building better in those fights where he's going to be finding his reason. If he's surviving the grappling early on, I think he'll survive it later. He has really good cardio so far. We saw it in the Breno Rival fight. Good cardio, amazing output, one of the highest strike numbers in a 3-round fight ever. And in the third round, that's where he took over. It was close the first 2, but the third round he kind of took over with the oblique kicks. He was timing Breno Rival coming in, landing big right hands, and of course drops him at the end and really steals the fight, kind of. Almost finishes him, and he could do that against Tyra this weekend. I would love to see how this style fares against Kopp, who's another guy who kind of enters flow states, because Josh Van is a little bit hittable, and Kopp has a lot of power. He's a guy, if you let him get going, you're kind of fucked. It's kind of like Protest. You can't, you let him get comfortable. You have to pressure him. I think Josh Van could do that against Kopp, but let's see how his chin holds up. He's been chinned once before. Very interesting fight there. I wish we would have seen that on 326, but I'm happy for the Tyra fight as well. Next up, we have Yuri Prochazka. He kind of does it in a way different than the other guys, where it's not really, he's just like reading and building. It's more so he gets his ass beat first. He has a quote like after the Khalil fight, I need to feel the power, then I get going, I get hyped up, whatever, motivated. And he does this through like a controlled chaos where he makes it gritty, dirty, clinch work. It's bloody, you guys are tired, and he always wins those exchanges. He's always going to win those. Most of his UFC wins are by comeback, so you can see he's losing early on, builds into the fight a little bit better, and then eventually usually gets a knockout. And I feel like the damage and style seem to have backfired. It might be backfiring more, especially if he fights like a Paulo Costa, maybe Ankalaev. He obviously fought Oberg with that style. I know there were some circumstances outside of his control, like and mentally with the knee injury, but he got chinned pretty fucking bad. The damage could be wearing on him, and obviously the style against more technical guys with power and with a bit better cardio than a guy like Khalil Roundtree, they probably have an edge on him, like an Ankalaev. And the best examples are Alexander Rakic, where he's getting his ass beat the first couple rounds. Should have been finished with low kicks. And then the second round comes, he starts landing big shots, countering Rakic, landing big right hands, and eventually gets him out of there after looking like shit. But I think the best one of this is actually Khalil Roundtree. That fight, because he was getting it was like the more one-sided in my opinion, especially because it was 2 rounds of it. It's like, oh, Yuri's just got to lose a decision. But something clicked in that third round. Like, the body work was really good. The clinch work was nasty. The elbows, the combos he was landing. He was also tired. But like I said, that controlled chaos got the job done. And Khalil looked like he got depleted like quick, like it was like a steep drop off. But I mean, it just the evidence of Yuri being that guy who builds in the fights, enters a flow state kind of by getting his ass beat first. Not really just finding reads. It's just it's very weird with him. He's a very weird, interesting fighter. And next up we have King Green, another guy fighting this weekend. Has that exaggerated swagger, quick hands, hands down, great elusiveness. Like I said, similar to Protest, the hands down, talks a lot of shit. I mean, it's not really building and entering a flow where he does that. He does fight like that all the time, or he's talking shit no matter who you are, beginning of the fight. But it's a sick ass style. I think this will be shown at 328 versus Jeremy Stephens. I think he'll have a speed advantage. He's better at this moment in his career. He could get chin because his chin is a little shaky. Jeremy Stephens does create wars, like you saw with Mason Jones, was able to hurt him a little bit, but Jones does get hurt a lot as well. Very hittable, probably more hittable than King Green. King Green, like I said, has great elusiveness and head movement. And especially when he enters that flow where he's like really wearing on you, because it's gotta piss you off, dude. He's almost 40 years old. He's talking shit. He's chinny already, so like one big shot could put him out, but he's bobbing and weaving, landing jabs, landing right hands, and talking shit to you, dude. It's like the Daniel Zellhuber fight was a perfect example of this. A younger guy who should have a speed advantage, has a chin advantage, good high kicks. He's a taller, rangier opponent, and he's just getting fucked up by King Green, and gets TKO'd in the second. That was an amazing performance. I love that. That was a beautiful fight to watch. I didn't know he's gonna win that, but it was amazing to watch because he's a fun fighter. He's a sick ass fighter. He comes out there, always tries to put on a show. And I think he'll do it this weekend. I'm glad he got a main card slot. I wish I would have seen him on the press conference, but get more focus on Strickland and Chimaev. Just beef that shit up like crazy. And lastly, Gene Silva. I know a lot of you won't like this. The Israel's Greatest Soldier. Might be a Fighting Nerds thing, like Protest, Rufi, who just left the Fighting Nerds, of course. Gene Silva, and then them except for Kyle Brawler. Kyle Brawler is like the only one that doesn't have like... Kyle Brawler doesn't have like an oomph to him. Like a Rufi or Protest or Gene Silva do, in my opinion. He kind of similar to Ilya, but gets tagged a little bit more. His defense is worse. Where it's like, find his timing. He has really good timing along with some power. Doesn't have the power of Ilya, but good technique and stuff. Just not too similar to Ilya, but just a little bit. He does become very wild in this, which leads to fights like that Diego Lopez fight where he was building, was really piecing him up, entering a flow state with the striking, even though it's kind of easy to do against Diego Lopez because he kind of keeps his chin on a platter for you. But even losing pretty bad the first round, not terrible, but pretty bad. He came out second round and just landing front kicks to the face, big right hands, spinning elbows. But like I said, he came very wild, walks in with his hands down and gets countered, and then has a hissy fit at the end of the fight. The examples of this are really like any fight of his. Kind of does all the time. Like the Mostly Bagdasarian one, he starts emoting and boom, right hand down to the ref, pointing like, yo, stop the fight, shit like that. The Bryce Mitchell fight, where he's getting hit a little bit early on from Bryce Mitchell, but it's like no power behind those shots, no damage, so he's just kind of eating them and just waiting, shucking off takedowns, having fun, starts landing big, and then secures a choke. And then his most recent win, Arnold Allen, starts off a little slow. Arnold Allen's looking really good early on, and then at the end of the first round, you kind of see it. He starts, flying knees, big shots, and he wins rounds 2 and 3. Close round 2, but round 3 is where he really started to do a little bit more, take it over a little bit, land bigger shots, land more. He does have pretty good output when he does that, and fucking surfing on Arnold Allen's back. So that's it. We got 7 fighters today. I would like to make a part 2. This does really good, but let me know your thoughts down in the comments. What do you think about these fighters? Who's your favorite out of them? And other examples for a part 2 of fighters you want me to look at and talk about. I think this was pretty fun to make, and I love fighters like this. They're a lot of fun to watch. So I'll see you probably Friday afternoon for a full card prediction. Maybe doing a Tyra Van prediction. I don't know. I'll be able to get that done in time because I need to watch. I've been slacking on the film watching for all the fights, honestly. So see you in the next one.